So, good afternoon and welcome back, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Standards Awards. This afternoon, we'll be recognising UK winners of the IEC 1906 Awards, who do know that they've won their awards, and also revealing for the first time the results of the special 2020 edition of the BSI Standards Awards. Joining me this afternoon to tell us about the winners are Scott Steedman, BSI Director of Standards. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon, everyone.
And also Shirley Bailey-Wood, Group Director for Knowledge at BSI. Welcome, Shirley.
Thank you, David. Hello to everyone.
So we're going to start today with some of the BSI Standards Awards, which includes awards for both standards makers and standards users. So Scott, why don't you introduce the standards makers and tell us about the Standards Makers Awards?
Well, it's a great question, David, to ask why we do this. Recognition for our recognition for our standards makers is really important to us. We know that over years of working with our committees and our chairs, and it's just terribly important that we recognise good effort. So the Standards Makers Awards are really the highest accolade that we give to our standards makers. These awards exist to recognise outstanding contributions to standards making, not simply long or distinguished service. We have other ways of doing that. These awards also enable us to recognise leaders, newcomers, committee managers, consumer experts, educators, representatives to international and European committees, nominating organisations, because of the importance of all these roles in our consensus process for standards development. Really important to recognise the contribution of our standards makers, because without them, David, volunteering their time and knowledge, there would be no standards. And it's through standards that we know we make life safer, better and more sustainable.
And many of them are on this call this afternoon, but we would say it even if they weren't there. So thanks for that, Scott. Now, Shirley, same for you really about the standards users. Why do we recognise standards users in this way?
So it's again a very good question, David. And alongside our standards makers, we have, of course, all of the people who have to put them to good use. And so our Standards Users Awards are here to recognise how organisations have used voluntary standards to achieve a particular outcome, and that they can show the impact that this has had. It might be for a particular project that they're working on, or perhaps in relation to their business operations or their products or services. But we seek to look for cases that show a demonstrable gain from the application of standards. And typically, we'd look to recognise how organisations have used standards to build better. For example, more trust in their brand, increases in productivity, perhaps ensuring the safety of their offerings. A key focus, of course, now is on proof of a sustainable business and sustainability interests. And so we could expand beyond this even further as to how standards might enable innovation or achieve a bottom line cost-saving benefit, perhaps improve business performance, or simply facilitated trading and market access. So for us, recognising standards users in this way is really important, as it enables us to see the impact of applying standards, and it helps others to understand how standards might be able to help their organisation. This is where we see how standards really do help to make life better, simpler, safer, and of course, more sustainable.
Absolutely. Thanks, Shirley. Now, obviously, this year has been a year like no other. That's impacted everything that we do, and the BSI Standards Awards are no exception. So we have created this special 2020 edition of the awards. Scott, can you tell us how the Standards Makers Awards have changed and why?
Yes, well, you mentioned that the world of standards development has really changed pretty much overnight because of the pandemic. Almost everything we're doing now is online, and that's going to continue for the foreseeable future, just like every other area of our lives. It's changed. And it wasn't just the shift to 100% virtual standards development work. Some areas have become very challenging because of the impact of lockdowns on particular sectors and stakeholders. And other areas were under considerable pressure to raise more awareness, to provide additional guidance about or even to develop new standards because of the pandemic. So we've got some very special awards to make this year and special announcements to talk about. And this year's Special Edition Standards Maker Awards recognise standards makers who really stand out for their role in developing the standards and the standards guidance needed to strengthen the UK's ability to respond to the immediate and ongoing challenges that have come about because of the pandemic.
Thanks, Scott. And Shirley, what about the Standards Users Awards?
Thank you, David. Yes, well, let me just link this also to what Scott was saying about the changing needs for, and of course, uses of standards. I'm sure we've all heard stories of different kinds of business transformations during the pandemic, beyond the transition to working from home, as we all are doing now. And I'm talking about businesses that did extraordinary things to meet a need or address a challenge that was brought about by the pandemic. And in doing so, made sure they incorporated best practice by using standards. This applies to new products and making sure existing products and services could continue to be delivered safely. So for the Special Edition Standards Users Awards, we were looking for organisations that use standards to do something that they've never done before, or to manage risk and bolster resilience in order to strengthen their ability to respond to the immediate and ongoing changes brought about by the pandemic.
Yeah, it's certainly been a year like no other. So it's great that we've been able to pivot the awards to really recognise the amazing things that have been done to support the UK's response to the pandemic from the world of standards. So I think we should start. Are we ready? Let's start without further ado. We'll start with our first award winner of the afternoon, which is the first of our Standards Users Award. And our first winner is the Area 9 SRN Strategic Road Network Alliance. So Shirley, why don't you tell us why they won?
So with pleasure, David. So Area 9 SRN Alliance are being recognised today for how they used the ISO 44001, that's the Collaborative Business Relationship Management System standard, to work together across their organisations to ensure they could continue to work safely throughout the pandemic. So keeping roads safe and open during the pandemic was and is and remains, of course, of critical importance, not just for the delivery of medical supplies and movement of those on the front line, but to ensure that essential supplies could be delivered to those shielding or self-isolating. It's fantastic to see the Collaborative Business Relationship Management System standard has helped to make that possible for the Area 9 SRN Alliance. Well done.
Great start. Thanks, Shirley, and congratulations to the SRN Alliance. You can imagine the fanfare now, and they're walking up to the stage. We'll just pause for photographs. Unfortunately, next year. So let's move on. That's our first winner. Let's have winner number 2, and our second Standards User Award is presented to UK Defence Standardisation. Shirley, tell us more.
Thank you. So today we're recognising UK Defence Standardisation for providing a quick and easily navigable single reference point, which ensured that all of the essential COVID-19 standards were identified, listed, and importantly, readily available to all defence personnel involved in the UK government's response to the pandemic. So, not as easy as it sounds. Perhaps that doesn't need further explanation, but to give you more context, in normal circumstances, individual defence personnel would have to search, identify, access their own specific standards as they needed them. But the UK Defence Standardisation approach and development of their library on their British Standards online provision and platform saved critical time when time was critical. It provided standards lists designated into the 4 major aspects of COVID-19 response. So hygiene, of course, personal protection equipment for ventilators and for risk management and business continuity. And this clearly helped the defence personnel activities. But let's acknowledge it's also had such a positive outcome for all of us who've benefited from their work. So great to recognise your efforts. Well done.
Well done to our second winners, UK Defence Standardisation. We've worked with them for many years, and it's a great relationship. And this year, of all of them, it's such an important winner. If those people are in the audience, do join us by chat. So welcome Steph Smith from the SRN Alliance. Congratulations to you. So if you're one of the winners and you're in the audience, do please give yourself a shout out, and we will name check you from the stage as well, as it were. Right, let's have our third Standards User Award winner. Shirley, the third one I see is Colpack Packaging.
It is indeed. So well done to Colpack. In order to help you all listening in today to understand the impact of what Colpack did, I probably need to explain what Colpack is as a business. So Colpack manufactures sustainable food packaging, such as sandwich bags, cartons, cups with lids, etc. And I think we all know by now that one of the things that has kept many cafes, pubs, restaurants and other food outlets afloat, and of course many of us sane by being able to use them during the pandemic, is the ability to offer takeaways. And they could not have done this if manufacturers like Colpack could not continue to provide the food packaging safely. So that's not to mention the thousands of people, all of us, many today probably, who've benefited from some safe food delivery. Colpack Packaging is being recognised today with a Standards User Award for using the standards for personal protection, which actually BSI did provide out there free to encourage uptake in COVID. And they applied them to design and manufacture the new personal protective equipment required within Colpack and throughout the food sector as a result of the pandemic. Great effort. Well done.
Fantastic. Well done, Colpack Packaging. One of many, Scott, I think, this year who've moved into new fields to support the need for PPEs. We've seen people moving in to produce ventilators as well. So we provided quite a bit of guidance, I think, for some of those organisations.
Yes, we certainly have, and it's I'm delighted to see that being taken up by so many companies. We have to, remember that lots of companies have pivoted their activity into new areas, and they've taken the opportunity to look at and look up and research that field and the standards they need. I think that's been hugely beneficial.
Yeah, and the webinars, I remember, Shirley, at the start of the pandemic, we put quite a few webinars on, and the numbers of organisations engaging with some of the webinars was, I can't remember the biggest, but they were huge compared to what we'd normally expect.
We've just been delighted to be part of the national effort. It's been great to work with so many people and to engage our own teams so purposefully in these myriad of standards related efforts.
Excellent. Well, we've got another fantastic story. Our next Standards User Award winner goes to the British Toilet Association. Shirley, over to you.
It does indeed. Well, these awards really do demonstrate that standards are everywhere and can enable organisations to achieve so many different things. And once again, it's great to be able to acknowledge an organisation whose use of and guidance about standards not only benefited them, but it's also benefited, again, the public at large. So let me explain a bit more. We're recognising the British Toilet Association for supporting government and local authorities with advice and guidance about using standards to ensure that our public toilets could remain open and safe for all users during the pandemic. No mean feat. Public toilets are a critical service for us all. I say that as a runner, and particularly the elderly and those with certain health conditions. And the fact that the British Toilet Association was able to use their standards knowledge and their position to make sure that this vital public service remained available to us all is most worthy of the Standards Users Award that we're presenting to them today. So roll call for the British Toilet Association. Well done.
Congratulations to them, and thank you to them for their fantastic work that so many people benefit from. Thank you, Shirley. Let's now move on to our standards makers, and we're going to begin with 5 of the 9 IEC 1906 award winners and present them with their awards. Now, experts from all of the IEC's 61 member countries are eligible to receive the IEC 1906 awards. These awards were created in 2004 by the IEC Executive Committee. The 1906 award commemorates the year IEC was founded in London and honours IEC experts around the world whose work is fundamental to the organisation. Now, the award also recognises exceptional and recent achievement, a project or other specific contribution related to the activities of the IEC and which contributes in a significant way to advancing the work of the Commission. So, Scott, over to you to hear about our first recipients of IEC 1906 awards being recognised today.
Thank you, David. And these are the first 5 of the 1906 awards. It's really fantastic to know that we have such a strong electrotechnical expert community who participate in the work of the IEC. It's a really important organisation. We often talk about ISO, but I just like to be absolutely clear that ISO and IEC together, working together, are globally recognised for their work as international standards organisations. And of course, we support that very strongly. So my thanks also to the entire electrotechnical community who work tirelessly on this area in IEC and indeed in Senelec too. So let me name check the first 5 of our 1906 awards this year. The first award is presented to Sami Gabriel in recognition of his outstanding leadership of IEC TC 106, JWG 13 and previous support in MT1. Technical analysis and writing, and dedication including significant time with stakeholders, ensuring a smooth transition from MT1 to the new joint working group with the IEEE. So well done to Sami. The next IEC 1906 award is presented to Colin Davidson for his role as convener of the working group, which developed the first edition of IEC TC 63014-1 high voltage direct current HVDC power transmission systems requirements for DC side equipment part 1 using line communicated converters, which has broken new ground through its complete and unified set of recommendations. So again, well done to Colin for that very technical, very important area, HVDC. Mike Edwards is the third winner this year, was given an IEC 1906 award in recognition of his dedication to quality in the development of cloud computing standards, including serving as primary editor of ISO IEC 19086-1, ISO IEC TR 23188, and ISO TC 23167. So well done to Mike Edwards, thank you. The next winner is Stephen Lawson in recognition of his active contribution of his fuse expertise over the last 30 years in developing and improving the IEC 60269 series of standards and his efforts in IEC TC32 to keep the fuse community active. So Stephen, thank you. 30 years is a remarkable contribution by any stretch of the imagination. Congratulations to Stephen Lawson. And the 5th IEC 1906 award that we're going to announce just this minute is given to Hans Sethi in recognition of his contribution over several decades to the work of IEC TC62, SC62C WG Working Group 1, including as leader for a number of projects and for his crucial work as liaison to several working groups, which have made him a key contributor to the coherence and consistency of the TC62 standards portfolio. So congratulations to you, Hans. Thank you very much for all your fantastic work. And congratulations to all of you. I look forward to presenting the rest of the IEC 1906 awards in a few minutes. Thank you. Back to you, David.
Thanks, Scott, and hi to Sami and to Mike and Stephen, I think are all with us today as well, so congratulations in person to you. And thank you, Joanne, for reminding us that today is World Toilet Day. How did we miss that connection to the British Toilet Association? Happy World Toilet Day to everybody.
For your
Right.
convenience, David, for your convenience.
Oh, very good, very good. No, I can't think one. Okay, we'll now begin our presentations for the Standards Makers Awards. So unlike the IEC 1906 Awards, these recipients don't yet know who they are. So I will end the suspense for one right now, because our first Standards Maker Award winner is Caroline Thomas. Scott, please tell us about Caroline's achievements.
Thank you, David. So Caroline has been recognized for leading an expert team within her working group to develop a range of international use cases using blockchain technology to help provide trust in the supply of global medicines during the pandemic. The global issue of fake and counterfeit medicines is largely due to the often fragmented and opaque supply chain infrastructure, and you may have heard bits of this on the news media. Caroline led the development of use cases demonstrating how blockchain can be used to improve the tracking and traceability of medical goods and to offer better brand protection to manufacturers. Caroline was instrumental in pushing a collaborative approach to develop these cases in such a way that they would deliver benefit to many countries. And I'm sure many of you will have heard stories about the increase in fake medical goods being peddled during the pandemic by unscrupulous opportunists trying to capitalize on the spike in demand and shortage of supplies. The work that Caroline led is a crucial tool to help stop these goods getting to market and extremely valuable in supporting the response to the pandemic and the global recovery. Thank you very much and congratulations to Caroline.
Well done, Caroline, who I think is with us today as well. So congratulations on being our first Standards Maker Award winner of this year. Now, our second Standards Maker Award winner, I think, is also here, and that is Professor Duncan Shaw. Scott, tell us why Duncan is being recognised.
Thank you, David. So Duncan was selected for this award in recognition of his tireless efforts to identify and make relevant standards available to all during the pandemic, and for his leadership in the creation of a new standard in the field of community resilience, which is focused on recovery. Duncan organised and chaired webinars and groups which were accessible and focused on resilience and recovery, including covering practices from BSI ISO 22395, supporting vulnerable people in an emergency, and BSI ISO 22319, planning the involvement of spontaneous volunteers. Duncan was instrumental in developing both standards, and he helped to ensure that they were included in the standards BSI made freely available online. Duncan's also brought together local and global government emergency planners, resilience officers, and those who will plan and implement the recovery from COVID-19 under the umbrella of the Manchester Business School's Manchester Briefing on COVID-19. This international group has produced a wealth of invaluable information, international lessons influencing the thinking on the response and recovery to COVID-19 that's been used as the basis of a newly approved international standard, ISO 22392, Community Resilience Recovery, which Duncan proposed. This new guidance standard was overwhelmingly approved by the international community and will begin development in November. So Duncan, many congratulations. That's a great piece of work. Thank you.
Certainly, as it just shows the breadth of the impact of the pandemic when we're seeing awards being given into the blockchain community, volunteer management, and all of the awards that we heard earlier. It really is really just bring home how broad the impacts have been. So well-deserved recognition for Duncan. Hi, Duncan. Now we're back to the remainder of the IEC 1906 awards. So we have a few more. Scott, over to you to tell us about the remaining IEC 1906 award winners.
Yes, thank you, David. We have 4 more IEC 1906 awards to make today. And the first of those I want to announce is the award given to Mark Yongi in recognition of his contribution to the development of IEC 62942. It's a file format for professional transfer and the exchange of digital audio data, which is a very important international standard for audio file format because it covers all of BWF related specifications, including the old WAVE format, which I do actually remember from seeing that on my computer at some point. Mark, if I've pronounced your surname wrongly, apologies, but congratulations to you for your ISO IEC 1906 award. The second of our 4 in this session is Stephen P. Robinson. He's won an IEC 1906 award in recognition of his excellent participation based on extensive knowledge in underwater sound and the strength of his contribution to the topic of low frequency underwater sound in IEC TC87, which is otherwise mainly focused on higher frequency medical ultrasound applications. Congratulations to you, Stephen. Thank you very much for that work. The third of the group, the next IEC 1906, goes to Christopher Miles in recognition of his recent exceptional contribution to the work of IEC TC81 MT9 on the third edition of IEC 62305-2, describing risk assessments for lightning and overvoltage protection purposes. I think that's very important work, Christopher. Congratulations to you. We need to be careful about that. And the final award in this year for the IEC 1906 to be presented today was awarded to Claire Cohen in recognition for her leadership in IEC TC114 for many years, and for her active current leadership of the development and publication of the second edition of IEC TS 62600-201 on tidal energy resource assessment and characterization. An important part of the activity for our green recovery, David. So congratulations to Claire. Thank you very much to all the IEC 1906 award winners. Fantastic work, and great to see you recognized by the IEC and by BSI in this way. Well done.
Well done, everyone who's picked up an award from the IEC there. That's fantastic. Now we come to our final Standards Maker Award, indeed the final award for 2020. And this is a very special award. It goes to the Advisory Panel for BSI Flex 45005, Safe Working During the COVID-19 Pandemic, General Guidelines for Organizations. Scott, please tell us more about this award.
Well, David, I'm just delighted to be announcing this today. This award and this standard marks remarkable innovation in many ways, both by BSI team, the BSI staff, and also by the experts who helped with this. This award is a first in two ways. It's the first BSI Standards Makers Award for an entire panel or committee, and the standard published was the first ever BSI Flex standard, which we may hear more about in a few minutes. The advisory panel is being recognized for their work during the pandemic to develop much needed guidance for organizations in the form of the first ever Flex standard. We have been working for some time to develop a third form of standards development, an agile process, and this came really to the fore during the pandemic, where we needed to deploy that extremely rapidly. The panel that worked on the Flex was brought together on extremely short notice and produced the first iteration of what we're calling BSI Flex 45005 in 15 days, and only 4 days after their first formal meeting. They've developed a globally applicable standard on the pandemic, which has been downloaded more than 16,000 times, translated into other languages, and formally adopted in countries and sectors across the globe. The panel came together from many disciplines and specialisms, and within 3 months, twice put forward versions for public comment and produced 2 further iterations of the standard. So now at version 3 of the guidelines has now been accepted as the basis for an ISO publicly available specification, or PAS standard. Given the scale of that achievement, I want now to make sure we recognize each member of the panel in turn, including the BSI Lead Standards Development Manager for the project, who was herself nominated for an award by one of the panel members. So David, here we go. The panel members were, firstly, Professor Joanne Bichard. Thank you, congratulations. Secondly, Deborah Harding. Where are we? Deborah Harding, thank you, well done, Deborah. Thirdly, Gail Ramster. Well done to Gail. Fourthly, to Philippa Jackson. Congratulations to Philippa, thank you. Fifthly, to Jean Hewitt. Congratulations to you, Jean. Well done. Thank you. Next to Dr. Sharon H. Congratulations to Sharon. Thank you very much. Professor Duncan Shaw. There we are again, Duncan. Thank you. Stanley Mitchell. Congratulations to you. Thank you for that work. Frank Lee. There we are, Frank. Thank you very much. Dr. Eamon Hoxie, congratulations to you, Eamon, thank you. Martin Cottam, who we know well. Martin, congratulations to you. Dr. Aditya Jain, congratulations to you, Aditya. Thank you very much. Dr. Tim King, there you are, Tim, congratulations. Wilson Wong, we also know very well. Wilson, congratulations, thank you. Peter Caplehorn from the construction sector, congratulations to you, Peter, thank you. And our very own Sally Swingewood, the BSI Leads Standards Development Manager. Sally, congratulations to you for all your incredible work. Thank you to all that panel, that group who worked tirelessly under massive pressure during, personal pressure, work pressure, to deliver that new standard in such short order. It's a remarkable achievement and something that the UK, BSI, and all our standards makers should be extremely proud of. Thank you, David. It's really great news.
Thank you, Scott. As you say, it's a first in so many ways. And so let's just have a little expose on this. I'm pleased to say that somewhere on the line, we should have Anne Hayes, who's BSI's Director of Sectors. Anne, are you there?
I'm here. Hello, David.
Hello, Anne. Well, what a story and what a success, really. Tell us more.
Well, I mean, Scott's done a very good outline there of what's happened and all the many people who came together to actually develop this work. And it's really a huge tribute to them to come from such varied sectors to meet together in a virtual world. Many of them had never met each other before, to show sort of complete respect to the experience and the opinions that each other held, to have very good-natured meetings that made sure that we delivered content, but actually also to be quite critical of both us in the content that we were putting forward, and also of each other's comments, so that we did have a robust process to support what we were getting out. And I think probably the biggest thing I can say is that, if there are positives about going through a pandemic, then this has to be one of them, in that it just proves that when you get a group of people determined to do something, they can do it and produce a robust document that really does make a difference.
And of course, you were working in a time when the guidance from government was changing, as it has been right through, of course, as the pandemic has evolved.
And that was quite challenging, I have to be fair, but it was, as everybody was learning, as we were learning, as our steering group members, panelists were learning, the government was also learning. And so we did have to take on board the changing government guidance that came out, but also the experience from around the world. And that's a real beauty of what we do at BSI, and the beauty of this process is that we can not only build on UK experience, but actually we get inputs from around the world, which makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think it's even been taken up, even before it goes into ISO, has been taken up by some countries as their national guidance document.
It's being used in various countries, and now you've asked me that question, I've gone completely blank on where, but it has been picked up by 4 countries from around the world, and actually now what you're seeing is 31 countries contributing to that ISO PAS, which will come out by the end of the year. Well, to be honest, it might have taken a pandemic for us all to do this, but for us to go from a national idea, and really it was Scott saying we have to do this that made us do it, through to an ISO document in about 6 months is really quite incredible.
And we should thank the individual members of the panel. I mean, they've been very busy these last couple of days working on this conference for us. Many of them have already had speaking parts, but it's a pretty stellar lineup of experts. They are
an amazing group of people, to be honest, and it has been a huge pleasure to work with them. I've spoken at events with some of them, and their support is phenomenal, and their willingness to work to our mad timelines and to just bring their experience and to be open-minded to everything we did just cannot be appreciated enough. It has been an absolute pleasure.
There was a question that Sally received during her session on BSI Flex yesterday, which was, can we do this for every standard? It's not always possible.
No, it's not always possible. It's not always appropriate. And I think it's doing the most appropriate thing at the most appropriate time. And in this particular instance, this was very appropriate. And in fast moving areas, it is very appropriate. And I think it really depends on the level of debate and the level of a consensus that you want to have as you develop something. But I think, but to be honest, this is a great way to work. And I really did love every moment of being involved in it. So thank you to them and to Sally as well. And actually, to all our colleagues in BSI, we really should thank everyone, because it was a huge team effort.
Yeah. Scott, we broke the mold a bit with this one.
We certainly have, and I mean, it's been something we've been talking about for some time. And of course, as we've learned in many other areas, the pandemic has accelerated trends that were happening. So I'm just really delighted and very proud of the team and of all our experts who've been name checked today for their work, because this really gives us, if you like, the third leg. And I'm a great believer that three-legged stools are a very strong thing, and lists should be in threes, and to be able to say that BSI can offer for the world, frankly, can offer three great pathways to an international consensus. The first being our traditional full-on international standards process, the mainstream activity, and the second being the PAS process, and the third now being this flex process, the agile process. That gives us a way to reach and to tackle new subjects in a very fluid way, so that we can co-design with industry, with government, with regulators. We can co-design a solution that is meaningful and that is respectful of their aspirations, their needs. Trading in some cases speed, consensus, the breadth of stakeholders, but all the time ensuring that we have our core principles, our governance, neutrality, independence, technology agnostic, patent free, all those core principles that underpin our work and that differentiate BSI and our role as the national standards body from others. So the attributes that we can bring to an ISO, IEC, EN, BS, a PAS or a Flex are really fundamental to the solutions that our innovation community, our government regulators, our industry leaders are looking for. And so I'm very excited that as we emerge from this situation, we'll be able to offer the full portfolio of tools for our stakeholders, our users, to achieve the ambitions that they have to see business performance improvement through consensus. And I think consensus is really the watchword as we head for the SDGs and our ambitions next year, and we head for emergence from COVID. This is all about reaching consensus, and that's the proposition that we can offer to people.
Absolutely. And just a final word, I know we can't do this without the expertise of the members of the panel, but they've been keen in the chat to recognise the work of Sally Swingewood, our programme manager, and we didn't give an award this year to a committee secretary, but I suspect she might have walked off with that one.
Oh, I mean, yeah, poor Sally was sat at home when I phoned her up and said, you've got 48 hours to write standard, off you go. And bless her, she did it. And I mean, that's amazing to have somebody who can turn around and do that. But actually beyond that, they're a great team in the content development who edited it. The people who've developed the Flex system have been amazing, and how they've pulled that together and supported us as we were hitting the wrong buttons at various points, and that's been fantastic. And then our marketing team and PR team who got it out there, we got great coverage for it, and it really did show the power of a standard and what it can do. So yeah, huge credit to the team here in BSI.
Yep, well done, Sally. Well done, all of the panel. Thank you, Anne, for joining us, and thank you,
pleasure.
Scott. This was a little palate cleanser before the big speech that we've got shortly, the big presentation, the keynote presentation that we've got coming up at 2 o'clock, which we hope you're going to join us for. At 2 o'clock, we'll have Sergio Mujica, the Secretary General of ISO, joining us for the first time. We had hoped to have him at last year's, but fate intervened. But he will be back to give us a keynote presentation in about 15 minutes' time. So you are more than welcome to join us then. Then we'll have a short panel discussion around the world of standards, and that will be it for this year's conference. So thank you to all of, and congratulations to all of our award winners, and thank you to Scott and to Shirley and Anne for helping me to do that, and we look forward to seeing you at 2 o'clock.